When a city that once boasted of calm, wakes to smoke and barricades. A quiet that lasted for decades, fractures in hours. This is Dar es Salaam. The spark was not a single gunshot, but a series of decisions. In the weeks before voting, key opposition figures were barred from the ballot, and dozens of activists were detained, creating an electoral process that many described as constrained and uncompetitive. On election day, protests erupted in major cities, Dar es Salaam, Arusha, and others, as young voters poured into the streets, in anger at the exclusion of opposition candidates, and alleged intimidation. Videos from that first day show petrol stations and buses set alight, polling stations attacked, and a wave of anger that spread across neighborhoods. They felt robbed. This isn't just about one election, it's about a pattern that's been building. The state response was swift. Curfews were imposed in Dar es Salaam and other cities. Military and police forces were deployed to enforce order. At the same time, the government restricted communications, a near-total internet blackout, that made independent verification difficult. Rights groups and international bodies warned the measures risked escalating tensions. The United Nations Human Rights Office reported deaths and injuries arising from security force operations, and called for restraint and transparent investigations. When you cut communications, rumors spread faster than facts. People start to fear the worst. From day 2, the numbers became contested. Opposition sources claimed a catastrophic death toll, while international monitoring groups and UN officials described a smaller, though still grave, number of fatalities. Independent verification has been hampered by the blackout and restricted access. The main opposition party reported very high casualties, while organizations such as Amnesty International and the UN reported confirmed deaths and injuries, but urged caution pending independent probes. We received victims of gunshot wounds, many with severe trauma. Hospitals were overwhelmed in the first 48 hours. The human toll, known and unknown, has driven large numbers back onto the streets, in rage, grief, and defiance. Tanzania's ruling party, the CCM, has dominated politics for decades. President Samia Suluhu Hassan sought re-election, in a contest critics say lacked a level playing field. The sidelining of opposition leaders, including arrests, and in some reports, treason charges against prominent figures, intensified popular anger, and cast doubts over the legitimacy of the contest. The stakes are both domestic and regional. Domestically, the unrest threatens investment, tourism, and everyday commerce. Regionally, Tanzania occupies a strategic place in East Africa. A prolonged crisis risks economic spillovers, and diplomatic strains with neighbors and donors. If Tanzania slips into instability, the consequences could be felt across supply chains and refugee flows. Neighboring states will watch closely. 3 broad scenarios emerge. 1. An immediate clampdown restores a brittle order, but deepens grievances. 2. A negotiated settlement, pressure leads to mediated talks, and confidence-building measures. 3. Protracted unrest, with intermittent violence, that drags on the political and economic life of the country. International actors have called for restraint, independent investigations into casualties, and restoration of communications. Human rights organizations insist that any response must respect peaceful assembly and free expression. We want neutral observers, reopenings of political space, and accountability for abuses. Without that, the cycle will repeat. Tanzania has long been a region anchor, a country whose stories ripple beyond its borders. The scenes unfolding in Dar es Salaam are a reminder that stability is not permanent. It is the product of accountable governance, inclusive politics, and the protection of fundamental rights. As night falls over Dar, the darkness is both literal and symbolic. The nation waits to see whether light will return, through reform, reconciliation, or a further descent into conflict. This is Darkness in Dar.